Good evening, everyone. Today, August 27, 2024 at 6 p.m. Call for order. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Aliaga.
Here.
Clerk Newbeck here. Treasurer Brown.
Here.
Trustee Morocco.
Here.
Trustee Nalwalku. Here. Trustee Ritchie.
Here.
And Trustee Tenner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. We need to approve the agenda, but I think we're going to do some amendments.
Yes, I'd like to amend the agenda by removing item M2, closed session, discussion of confidential legal opinion pursuant to the Michigan Open Meetings Act.
Support.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Board public announcements. Anybody who would like to speak? Okay.
Just going to make an announcement. We are not broadcasting live this evening because we are out of power at the ITV studio. If you cannot hear us in the audience very well, I don't think the mics are very loud. I suggest you move up to the second or first row like you do in church. But we are videotaping it our old-fashioned way, and it will be uploaded tomorrow. And that's all I have.
Anyone else?
I do. I just want to mention there's going to be a fundraiser for the historical Sashaba Presbyterian Church, September 14th from 1 to 5 on Maybe Road. Somebody else has picked up the torch to try to get that restoration under control. So if you could go and support that, that would be great. That's September 14th, 1 to 5 at the Maybe Road Presbyterian Church. And also Preservation Clarkston with the Bailey House program has a fundraiser coming up on Saturday, the 28th of September. And that information, is their gala that's being held at the historic Brady Lodge that was newly renovated. And the information for that's on their Facebook page, Preservation Clarkston.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. Anyone else? Okay, moving along. Public comments. Anyone from the audience would like to come to the podium and state your name and address? No? Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Rachel Brackey, and I am here representing the Pine Knob Village Homeowners Association. And we've been made aware that the township has some excess funds potentially available for road repairs, reconstruction, and we are here to advocate for our case for some of those funds. We already have an active petition with the RCOC SAD paving process. Unfortunately, we've been in that process since May of last year, and we still haven't gone past or reached step 3, which is the county giving us a quote. They are reluctant to provide us with a dollar value because it's too high. It's been escalated with their engineers, but our neighborhood has 50 houses in it, and we're all on an acre. And because of just the sheer frontage that everybody is posed with, they're reluctant to give the homeowners a dollar figure of what the assessment would be in order to get our roads repaired. I don't know if you're familiar with our neighborhood, but it's right at the corner of Walden and Pine Knob Road. It was established in 1989, and at that time the dues for every house was $100. Now our dues are $850 a year per house because we are allocating money to try to fund fixing the roads ourselves. However, after a few years of saving, we only have about $60,000, which doesn't even cover the fixing of one of our cul-de-sacs, nor if we went through Oakland County, would it come close to covering 3 houses, the assessment for 3 houses. So we have reached out to several private companies However, it's not an apples to apples comparison. They don't do the in-depth reconstruction that the county does. They don't warranty anything, they don't repair anything if they break anything. And all the permitting is done through the homeowners association, all the insurance and liability is through the homeowners association, whereas with the county, that's all covered. We've been working with Mark Vessler and Rick Saporsky at the Oakland, at the RCOC. And I'm supposed to hear back next week, but we, and my fellow neighbor, and who's been an OG member of the neighborhood, just wanted to sort of make our case and see if the board or the group that's handling those excess funds, we just wanted to make our case to let you know that there are other neighborhoods out there in Independence Township who are looking for those funds as well, and not just those that serve specific demographic areas. So, if you have any questions, you may feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Ben Hastings, 5583 Adderstone Drive, Clarkston. Glad you came. I'm the treasurer for the Spring Lake North subdivision in Clarkston. We're just off of Mabee Road. And we're currently in the process of working with the township on partnering and repaving our asphalt streets. Currently, we're in the petitioning process. So kind of this sounds like the same space that you're currently in now. We have good support for it so far, so I expect to turn that in next week. All of my information, my contact information is on our website. If you go to springlakenorth.com, you can find all my contact info. One of the things we wanted to do with this project is to be a resource for everybody in the community. So if there's other HOAs out there that are listening that don't know where to start or need some guidance on the process, I'm more than happy to do that. I know Paul Brown's been instrumental with us so far, Carrie Newbeck, Kim Bagley, the assessor. Makes a huge difference when you have really good support in the township. So just wanted to thank the Township Board and also let everybody know that I can be a resource. Thank you.
Anyone else? You would like to address the board? Okay, thank you. Moving on, we'll have public hearings. No presentations of report. We have the carryovers or consent agenda. On consent agenda was number 1, request to approve the Board of Trustees regular closed session minutes of August 13, 2024. 2, request to approve the August 20, 2024 check round including the ACH for $570,000 and $354.42, and ratify the August 16, 2024 payroll of $452,370.36 and the June 2024 EFT and ACH wire activity of $6,553,963.57. Third, request to adopt the resolution number 2024-016 to designate the Township DPW Director and Interdirector as a Township authorized representative for execution of CWSRF project documents. And that's all for the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, but on part 3, it's number 2024-019. I think you said 16 by mistake, so
Thank
I
you.
will approve that with the correction.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Regular business. We have 1, request to approve the 2024 budget amendment number 26. This is for the design services proposal for the Dayton water main extension. This is actually for the south. Please, Adam, can you come to the podium?
Thank you. Good evening. This is a request to approve 2024 budget amendment number 26, along with a request to accept the design services proposal for the Drayton water main extension. And if you may remember, earlier in the year, we brought forth the project for the water main extension. This is just for the design services of that project. So this is not for the project itself, it's just for the design services. You may remember that the project design was about 18,000 linear feet of water main to the Drayton Plains area from Pelton Road, maybe all of that neighborhood there. Several of the roads, there's a map in there. And the township did receive funding from EAGLE, the Affordability and Planning Grant, to assist with the planning and design of $441,770. And I believe Rick can maybe help me out if the budget amendment is to allow for that flow-through funding on this project. And I believe we have, township has a match of $24,600. If you have any questions, I brought the technical assistance with me, but I don't know.
Any questions from board members? Sam?
So this, the design engineering proposal, what, and then,
Pardon?
so that's 443 for them to design the whole
The whole project.
and then what is the, what's the, okay, now we got a design, what's the funding mechanism and the timelines of that? Does that seem achievable?
So we still do not have the funding for the project. We've applied for the funding. I don't believe we've heard yet on whether we had funding for the project or have we?
We have not.
Okay.
The Eagle is still in the process of scoring the applications that were received. We should hear, I would say, by the end of September, whether or not that project has been awarded. That we submitted an application, if you recall, my colleague and I were here presenting that project along with an additional PFAS water main project back in May for submittal to Eagle in June. So we should hear by the end of September whether that portion was, whether that portion of that project will be funded or not.
So what is the likelihood that, and what would our contributions be that the project actually gets funded after this big of an investment to design it? And what do you think the timelines would be?
If we get funded, then we can start construction sometime next year.
And are we
It's a
gonna
bit of
have-
a lengthy process, as you know, with any Eagle state-funded, federally funded project.
I'm good with it taking a while, I'm just trying to make sure that, are we gonna be on, do we have a contribution percentage to the project like we do to the engineering of it? And what would be the, what do you get, what is the number,
So this is considered a low-interest loan program. So I don't have the numbers with me, but it would be over a 20-year period, so you would pay an apportionment on an annual basis.
and is it appropriate to spend that, $500,000 to engineer it before we know if we're gonna be able to get it funded?
I believe so. I mean, to me, it's cost effective to do that. You only had to pay,
Yeah, no issue with our contribution.
Yeah,
That's not where I'm going with
$24,000
it.
to, compared to the overall cost of the design.
Right.
I think it's beneficial, there's a definite need. As you can see from the documentation that we provided, the Oakland County Health Department has been aware of the water quality issues in the area for a couple decades now. There's a definite need there. So if we don't get funding through the SRF, we do have other funding options. This actually went before McLean's office as part of the government discretionary funding. So, we're looking at several different financing options for this project. So, I'm sorry, did you want to add on that?
I'll just piggyback
Yeah.
on this. How long, so this engineering if we didn't get approved for funding now, how long is this engineering going to be relevant down the road? Does it expire at some point in time, or if we got funding in 3 or 4 years, would we have to redo the engineering?
No, we shouldn't have to, no, no.
Shouldn't have to, or wouldn't have to?
It would certainly probably have to be updated, I would think, it depending on years.
Yeah.
Let's say we don't get funding and then there's another source in 5 years from now, but we have the funding for the engineering, so we have the plans, I would assume there would
I
be
mean,
updates.
it's a standard water main replacement project, so if we do it now, you know, versus 5 years from now, there's really not gonna be much change
Okay.
as far as the design component, if
Thank you.
that makes sense.
But also, I want to just make a quick comment here. Also, we are waiting for Lisa McLean, which she sent a letter before there. We got a, it's a good potential that we're gonna get the funding from Lisa McLean too. And there's additional, you know, that we are applying for this. So we have two different sources right now. Just a lot of options that this is gonna go through. It's not we just depending on one option. We have another option with McLean office, right?
If I
Correct.
remember the
Yep.
presentation, it was presented as in, possibly the whole project could cost you 20 cents on the dollar.
And what's the projected cost?
I don't know if we had,
Give me a ballpark.
8,247,755.
20%, Paul, what's that?
1.6 million and some change.
Over the course of 20 years with low interest. I have no problem doing this. I think our contribution's minimal.
yeah,
I don't want to say that people are going to give us money if they haven't given us money, because that's not, till we get it, it isn't real.
correct.
You know?
How many
And I
homes?
just want to make sure it's something obtainable to us.
Well, you have this money, there's a grant agreement in place.
For this money, I
For
mean,
this
for the
meeting.
project.
Correct.
I mean, the engineering's great, but without a project, then the engineering's a waste. But it sounds like
Right,
you got it
understood.
covered. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood where we're at with it. And it sounds like it's obtainable for us to have the 20% contribution, whether it gets funded by X or Y. It's an obtainable project. I just wanted to kind of see what it was going to be to the end, you know, to make sure that it all made sense. That's all, and it does. So that's what I wanted to know.
Thank you, Sam. Anyone else? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal received from DLZ of Waterford, Michigan for professional services associated with professional engineering services related to water main improvements to address drinking water quality concerns as outlined in the agreement in an amount not to exceed $443,395. Authorize the supervisor to sign the proposal as the authorized representative of the township and approve the 2024 budget amendment number 26 as presented.
Support. Thank you, Ron. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Good job. Thank you. All right. Moving along. Rick?
Good evening, everyone. We have budget amendment 27 here. The seniors are at it again with their traveling. Similar to last year, they are doing a lot of traveling, and we actually increased the budget this year because of what happened the prior year, and they're still exceeding that number, so it's a good thing. However, we do have a budget issue here. We originally started with $264,000 in revenues, offset by $237,000 of expenditures. That's about a 10.2% margin that they were generating. They're actually projecting revenues to be about $375,000, of which, and with expenditures coming in around $337,000, it still maintains at 10.2%. So we need to do a budget amendment for the differences, and they feel that they can still beat 10.2, but we won't know that until we get the final results and all the final bills at the end of the year. So that's what we're looking to do.
Thank you, Rick. Any questions? No? Okay. Any other motion?
I'll move to approve the 2024 budget amendment number 27 as presented.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, this is about the flood cameras, and we have a presentation before by the sheriff department, I think it was a while ago, and we talked why we need this. It's gonna help us to give a little weapons to the sheriff department to do their job, and I think it's essential, it's important. And Paul has some very good questions last time. I remember Paul, I addressed those in the Clarkston News. It was to the public. It was some concerns about whether some people think we're gonna be profiling or taking pictures with somebody across the red light, which is not true. It's nothing like that. It's to put more legal weapons for the sheriff department to do their job if something really bad happen. And it's happening in Northland County, as you see. We saw a presentation, Paul, I think you and Kerry, you did with Sheriff Wishart about some of this group from Venezuela and Chile and coming in the south of Oakland County. And we want to be more proactive and prevent those criminal actions here in Independence Township. And I think it's going to be good. And this is going to come from the Sheriff Department budget, as far as I understand. So if there's something you want to add to the board, Lieutenant?
Well, just to add on what you said, they are, flock cameras are a great investigative tool. They are a deterrent as well. Once bad people, criminals, get to know that you have these cameras and you're using them to identify them and make arrests, they will go elsewhere where the cameras are. They're not just used for to catch criminals. They're used for Amber Alerts, as well as there are seniors that get lost. And we can find them with these cameras wherever we have these cameras, and they're all through the state of Michigan and Oakland County. They help us track down the people we're looking for.
Right. Any questions? Treasurer Brown.
So it has been a bit since we went in depth and talked about this. I know the board had some concerns. I'll touch on a few of the things that, as I remember, the information, the photographs are focused on license plates and can tell what color the cars are and that sort of
So
thing.
making a car with license plates.
The information is not foilable.
No.
And so it's only accessible when there are things that are being specifically looked for, and I'll bring up one example. The photos also are gone in 30 days.
I think it's a retention of 30 days.
The retention is only 30 days, so if something didn't happen within that period, they're gone, the data is gone. If something did happen, then law enforcement would have ways to access that information within the 30 days and have it as needed.
And we get the
I thought that was important. I thought that was a really important point, that it goes away fairly quickly and people can't get to it except law enforcement with specific requests.
Correct.
And then we'll share one request that happened, and that was the armed robbery at the Vibe Credit Union 6 months ago?
Approximately, yes.
About 6 months ago, and there's a flock camera at Andersonville and Dixie Highway. Waterford has them. Because of the car description, correct me if I get this wrong, because they had a description of the car, they got to that camera and put in the description. They were able to feed in the description of the car, and they had a license plate picked up because of that flock camera, and he was arrested within 24 hours.
Correct.
I mean, that's...
When he was arrested, we were using flock cameras in Pontiac to track him.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want to have happen, and that's how it's supposed to work. But it has just as much of an impact if Ring cameras catch somebody leaving a neighborhood where there's been a burglary. And they've got to, if they're not from here and they've burglarized a home, they're going to pass a flock camera getting out of here somewhere. And if and there's so many Ring cameras now in the community, someone's going to have a picture, at least some kind of description of that vehicle. And I just, to me, I support it because, again, I think we've addressed some of the concerns, and there's really a tremendous benefit for all the residents.
That's correct.
Right, and I agree with you, Paul, in the presentation, and it's too bad that we couldn't use Teams because the person that did the presentation before, he was ready to address to the board, but because of the weather conditions, he's not here today. But you're right, the board brought some concerns, and they work on those concerns, address every single concern, number of concerns, quite frankly, but now all those concerns are agreed. I think this is going to be beneficial for the community, for safety and security. So, somebody would like to make a motion?
I have a question.
Oh, sure. Sam.
I just wanted you to clarify with everybody that this is in our budget, we can afford this in the budget that we are current?
Yes, I got with Rick, and Rick has
Okay, well, I know you guys need a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
so this isn't gonna,
no, this will just be one tool.
you think this is important
I
enough to not go after
I've seen it in
other
action,
stuff that you
Sam.
need?
Yeah, I've seen it in action, and
Okay.
I really believe it's a benefit. Otherwise,
I just know your department's has a lot of need. I just want to
Right.
make sure you're,
No, I
that
agree.
you personally
I
think
do.
this should be on the priority list.
I do.
If you do, then I do too. So, that's all I have.
Terry, no, Kerry? No, Terry?
I just want to reiterate, because it has been a while since the presentation, the quality of the camera shots, because there's some out there and they're like, do you recognize this guy? And the cameras are just so bad.
Right.
I just want to make sure that if you could reiterate,
Yeah, the
They're
quality
good
of the, I
quality,
mean, yes, they take pictures of license plates, they can do them at night, and they do show up. The quality is very good.
Kerry, Ron?
I just wondered, the MAFE is for 12 cameras.
12, correct.
Like, how many intersections is that gonna cover?
Well, we don't necessarily have to put them in intersections, but, and there's, I think, 2 in each intersection, so just depending on where we put them.
So, multiple intersections, but there could be other places on the
They
road
could be other
as well.
places, correct.
Okay, very good.
Kerry?
That was pretty much what I was gonna ask as well, but is 12 gonna be what you're comfortable with, or next year are we gonna need to budget for more?
I feel comfortable with 12, and the following years, if we think that we need more, then we can come back to the board and let you guys decide, but I think 12 is the number that I felt comfortable with.
Will we advertise where we're at as
No.
a deterrent?
No, we won't.
Okay.
All right, I need a motion.
I
Oh, sorry, Jim,
That's okay. Upon the conclusion of the 2-year commitment, or perhaps beyond that, if we extend it, I'm assuming there's a point we would have, as technology advances, would have to re-up and pay. It says one-time fee, but set one-time setup fee per camera, would that be something we'd have to revisit down the road?
I think
We're
that
replacing
and I could be wrong, but I believe that if the technology approves, they will adapt that to the cameras that we have. So if there's anything that needs to be downloaded into the camera to bring them up to date. But to be honest with you, I couldn't answer that. I know what you're saying, but I can't answer that 100%.
Okay, and this, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, this includes maintenance.
Maintenance, all maintenance, correct.
Thank you.
Maintenance and installation.
okay. Anyone else in the board who would like to say anything? Okay, anyone else? All right, I need a motion.
I move to approve a 2-year rental agreement for 12 flock safety Falcon cameras from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office for the amount not to exceed $36,000 annually, plus $7,800 in year 1 only for setup, and approve the 2024 budget amendment number 13 as presented.
Second?
Okay, simple majority. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, because I have a closed session at 6:28. I would like to ask the board for a closed session.
We did close session officers.
Oh, you removed both?
No, but it's a study session.
Oh, this is the study.
It's public.
Oh, public, okay, sorry, study session, okay. Thanks, Paul. Okay. 6:29, we have a study session. Round leadership said by Trustee Morata.
Okay, study session time. What to do with the excess road millage money? I think we should get ask if anyone in the audience would come back with any questions, or do you want me to do a summary on it? They don't have that on the screen. I had it attached so we could go through some stuff, but I don't think we're
Can
gonna,
we hook it up through the podium to the screens, at least for those that are here?
oh, then he'll pick it up with the camera then, maybe, yeah, okay, I didn't think about that. I just feel, and Ron and Jim worked on this with me, that if we've got to get some dialogue going, or we're never going to get to a conclusion with it. So Some of my opinions are in here, what I think, and Jim and Ron's, I think, concur on the basic concept of them, but we're gonna need to get to the nuts and bolts. I think we should start with, can we give the money back? And just go through some of the pros and cons, what the board thinks. I don't have a format for this, but I mean, we're gonna have to figure out how to just bounce this around and get to a conclusion somehow. So, Dan, did you happen to have any opinion, not formal or otherwise, personal or formal, on whether you think we can, whether if there's any, what you see as the issues with trying to chase down the original donating residents?
Right, Dan Kelly, Township Attorney, excuse me. So the only thing that I would comment with regard to the handout is, one, we've already provided an opinion to the board with regard to the use of the monies for public roads. We believe it includes roads beyond those actually listed in the millage, but it is limited to public roads. There is a comment here that the monies collected are not, or the interest from the monies collected are not taxpayers' money. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I actually believe that it is, but we have not issued a formal opinion on that, and if you wanted me to, I would look at that. So those are about the only comments I have on the handout.
Hold on 1 second. Carrie?
You had made comment about either possibly giving the money back to the residents. The board passed a motion in October of 2022 to not give the money back and to explore other options. So
Okay.
that option, unless the board rescinds that motion, is off the table.
Great.
And that would,
Okay.
if I could add to the clerk's comments, that was in part based upon the fact that if we had to return the money, we had to return the money to the people that paid it, which would be very complicated and difficult. We would expend a lot of money just doing that.
Paul?
And I'll just add in, our 100 largest taxpayers are commercial businesses, large apartment complexes. And I think you'd take somewhere north of $500,000 of the 2.5 million would be going to DTE and some other commercial enterprises and apartments, none of which are likely to give that money back to their customers. And so that would come right off the top, which really didn't make sense. And then the other issue, as he pointed out, you got to go to every year and find out who paid the money, and if it was paid by a prior homeowner, they get it, and you got to track them down. If it's a husband and wife and they got divorced, now you're into a problem with that. If somebody passed away, you're looking for an estate. And so the administrative costs of doing that, I don't even know how we would staff that to do it, to be honest with you. It would be hundreds of thousands of dollars in man hours to try and do that, which really at the end of the day didn't make sense for a refund that was going to average $160 per home. So
Yeah.
I just share that.
Thank you. And then I just wanna, who did what?
I was asking Paul where that figure came, like, somebody do the math of the amount of taxpayers based upon the thing.
Which
To
piece?
get to the 106, around.
$160 per year. So it could be, and again, you'd be talking about lots of homes that had multiple owners.
Right.
So, and every year had to be treated separately. I just did the math on the taxable value, the average taxable value
Okay.
versus what was returned. I did calculate that. Yes.
Just trying to get to, so that's.
Well, you're looking at $2.5 million. Subtract $500,000, you're down to 2 million. Divide that by 15,000 parcels. And don't forget, personal property taxpayers also get money back too. A lot of them are not in business anymore. So that money's going to be escheated to the state of Michigan because the business doesn't exist anymore. Money's going to go sit in the unclaimed property with the state for probably a couple $100,000. So as much as I think the whole board would support giving it back, financially it doesn't make any sense because at the end we're going to spend a ton of it trying to do that and really is not going to get much benefit to the residents who we want to benefit.
I agree, we can do a lot more with the money than without.
So then, okay, thank you, Sam. I just want to point out, Dan, that I contact your office after Sam and Jim and Ron had the presentation. to see if you guys can work to see, because you have a lot of good ideas, but I want to see which of the ideas are able to use with what you just state, the public funds. I mean, it's public roads, so Sam already gave a list of options, so I didn't hear back there from your office, but that may help us out.
So I had a conversation with trustee Morocco
Oh, okay,
about having this discussion tonight
okay,
before I go and
Okay.
research all uses of millages.
all right, good, thank you.
Well,
That's good.
just felt it would be better to give them a more specific scope of work than just, that's why I'm hoping that tonight we can kind of hash through some of them. So giving it back to the people, check, that's not what we're doing.
Okay.
Just anything we can do to narrow something down. Let me get through the things here, return funds. So next thing we could talk about, and get some easy things, I guess not easy things, is what do we feel would be candidates for the road millage money? And do we feel as a board that any of that money could be parsed out or contributed to other county roads at a lower level of traffic and scale? Or do we want to keep them only on higher priority main roads? A lot of this being able to help the residents with the SAD, things and stuff like that, really all falls in the lap of, can we use the interest money? Because we don't, I don't feel comfortable using the millage money for private neighborhoods. So being able to separate the two kind of gave us a couple of different avenues to go,
I just wanted to help you. You said private neighborhoods, and we want to be very specific.
County roads, not private roads.
Yeah, you said private neighborhoods. It's not private, it's public neighborhood. But I just want to make sure, because
Public,
someone will catch
okay.
that.
All right, well,
Relative to because I think what you were talking about is getting more money into the neighborhood road improvement program,
right.
where that money can be used to help public roads when they do SADs. What I will point out is that the amount of money we contribute to those is not an amount, generally speaking, that causes people to say, now we will do it. When you're looking at a $20,000 per house, our contribution is not going to put a very big dent in that. I think over the years we've put $200,000 a year into our neighborhood road improvement program, and that money generally came from the weighmaster we had in place. And I actually will have a question for the lieutenant if he has an answer, or he can get one back for us. Because I have noticed that the amount of money we've been collecting by our weighmaster, who is someone who's trained to identify overweight trucks in our township, and if he identifies that, he pulls them over, and if they're overweight, they pay fines. And I've noticed that there's been a pretty steep decline in our collections on that, and I just wondered if you had knowledge of why that's gone down.
I think part of that is because of the frost laws. That's when he does a lot of the revenue, overweight trucks are during the frost period. The last couple of years they haven't had those activated, so therefore he's not been able to write those.
Because of the weather.
Because of the weather.
That makes sense. So we might expect that the frost laws come in, that revenue from that's going to
Usually goes
pop
up,
back up.
yes.
Okay. So I think one of the things the board has done is we've budgeted $200,000, and in a lot of years that money's not been used. I do like the idea, and I think Sam has kind of thought about this, is that we pull that money forward and put more into it. Because I do think we're going to have more neighborhoods trying to take advantage of what we're doing for two communities right now, which is public roads getting a special assessment district that's done through the township, not the road commission. In this case, it's a mill and fill. The roads aren't they're not in terrible condition, but if the road commission comes in, they're ripping it all out and starting over. And so if we can get more of those happening, we will need more money than $200,000 a year, I think, because we could have 3, 4, or 5 of these projects happening. And so letting that money grow a little bit could change what we've got available. And again, we're taking the money from people who are overweight. They're the ones hurting the roads. Makes sense to use those funds to help the neighborhoods get their stuff done. That could make up for the $500,000 of interest, which I think should remain with the millage money and be used for the bigger projects we have available or that need to be done. that we can talk about more as we get down your list. That's it, sorry.
Okay. Ron?
Yeah, and
Thank you, Lieutenant.
to piggyback on what you just said, Paul, the other thing that we talked about too in our meeting was in years past, when the money wasn't being used, we took it out of that fund and put it in the general fund. And we want to make sure that we don't do that anymore, that we keep it in that fund and grow it to, and that's why we were saying that. And that's another reason why we think it's justified to use that interest money for that, because in past years, there was money that was in, that was collected from the Waymaster for this program, and we put it back in the general fund because it wasn't used. And I guess one of the points we want to make sure happens is that we don't do that anymore. We keep it in this fund moving forward to grow the fund. So we can, and hopefully, at some point in time, increase the percentage and participation of the township in helping the neighborhoods with those roads.
Would the board have a consensus for that idea? I think if we could try to just get through each point and kind of cross them off. Carrie, you have something to say?
Carrie, what do you have to say?
I was just gonna add that with the Waymaster, I think we can all attest with the work on I-75 and all of the extra trucks on our roads. I think we should see an increase in the Waymaster monies, because I am following these big trucks all over where it's posted, no traffic, to go through there. So I think that while we're undergoing all of the stuff on 75 and with the closures, I think we should see an uptick in our Waymaster tickets and the money that we're getting from that. So I think that that's encouraging. We have tried, since I've been here since 19, we have continually tried to promote the Neighborhood Road Improvement Program. We have continued to put money into it, and we continually don't see it being utilized because of the increase in costs that just are not manageable for the residents with the road commission. So I think our program, where we could do this and we could be the bank for them, where it will help for those people that aren't in that dire situation, I am all for that, because this is something we've tried, we try to encourage, and really no one, I think, except one subdivision, has taken advantage of that over the past many years. So, when the residents are looking at $30,000 and getting, minimal, it's not making the mark for them. And I think this other alternative is a great alternative, and we already have 2 different subdivisions that are actively seeking to participate in that. And I think it really behooves us to do our part to step up to help them in some way that we can. But I do think it's important that Dan's office does give us the opinion on what we can do with the interest money. And then I think that we might have to revisit this again once we get that answer, so we have a better idea on really what money we're looking at and, and what pot we can allocate it towards.
Ron?
I guess to piggyback on what you just said too, Carrie, was I guess I'd also like him to investigate, and hopefully we can do this through the treasurer's office or clerk's office, about any money that we had in this fund, in the neighborhood road improvement fund, that we put back to the general fund. Because I guess if it's possible, I'd like to pull that money back and put it back in the neighborhood road improvement fund. And I don't know if that's legal or not. That's what I'm saying.
That's why we need Dan.
Well,
That should be part of what we're checking on.
Well, Dan is taking notes right now. That would be a good question then for you.
I think
Yes.
Rick is here, and he might be able to tell
Okay.
us.
Well, it's general fund money. The board can make a motion to put that money back from the general fund into the neighborhood road improvement program. We can do that ourselves. We don't have an opinion on it.
I'm just saying we need to research, how many times we did that. I'm not sure. I
That
know we
is
did it a
almost
couple
every
times.
time.
Okay, well, and I guess second half of my question was on the SADs, through like Joette's presentation, everything that she gave and talked about as well on the roads in her video that she sent out. I don't know if everybody watched that or not, but in there that talked about it. If we do the SAD through the township, that we have the ability to extend the years of payback as well. So I mean, we need to investigate that to see what the maximum number of years we can allow for payback. Because obviously if it's 10 years with the county, and we can go 15 or even 20 years with it through the township, then it might, help lessen the amount yearly they would have to pay. So it's still the same total amount, but I mean, hopefully it helps individuals' cash flow.
Sure. Carrie?
I just think to follow up to what he said about extending the payback, I think is a great idea, but you also have to look at the length of the warranty on that work. And if it's only warranted for 5 to 7 years or 8 to 10 years,
1 year.
oh, it's only warranted
Yeah, you're not
1
gonna
year?
get.
You're not gonna get a
warranty on
10-year
nothing
warranty.
in Michigan.
But it's up to them how long they want to take to pay it back. I'm
Yeah.
just saying as part of their
I'm just
setting
thinking
up
they're
the
gonna wanna
SAD.
do it again,
Right.
or
Well-
need to do it
well,
again, and they won't have paid off
We
their.
got neighborhoods that have been repaid in 50 years, so.
Just a thought.
Is there a consensus for the board that we continue to roll over the SAD contribution annual fund? I thought it was 250,000 a year, and we only used 6,500 last year, but if it's 200, that's 200, but there's, whatever it is.
Let's just say if we research what it was each year.
Yeah, is there a consensus that we want to stop putting it back in the general fund to build a road, a contribution fund up bigger for the residents with the board?
I think so.
Anybody have any issues with it or want to I'm just putting check marks next to each of the things to,
I think that could be brought forward. That
I'm
could
gonna
be
say we have
brought
a
forward.
consensus for that, okay? Is anyone in opposition of longer amortization at the request of the petitioner?
Well, I'll just make a couple comments. And don't forget interest rates too, because right now the interest rates that the county charges is 6%. By resolution, we do the same thing. That could change. When interest rates were 2.5% or 3%, the special assessment districts that we did, a lot of them got paid off very quickly, because no one wants to pay 6% when the rate out there in the market's 2.5 or 3. So you end up with half the money coming back. We also have to understand that if we start getting a few larger projects, $1 million or north of $1 million, then we have to start considering where that money's coming from, and that we can support it with the monies we have. It is an opportunity for us to earn interest at 6%. Rates are going to come down, for sure, I think for sure, and be below 6% in the near future, so I don't think we need to do anything with our interest rate. When you go out further, I think 10 years is really the benchmark. You go out further and the roads could need to be replaced again and someone's still paying for it. Now, when we get a subdivision that is maybe a lot more of the starter homes and less valuable homes, where you have a group there that the financial resources would not be as much, in those cases, keep in mind, you have smaller lots typically, and so you have a lot more people contributing. So while it can still be a burden, even for those, stretching it out 15 years could be a concern, although I somewhat can support the idea, but I think we should always be starting at 10, unless there's some real extenuating circumstances that would make us feel okay about going further. The board would have the ability to do that if it's allowed legally.
At the request of the petitioner.
Yeah, that's
Not
correct.
that we're going to say all SADs are 15 years.
That's
If
correct.
that's ability. We're just saying you would have the ability to appeal, to plead or request the additional thing.
Yes,
Is
and
every-
the board could do that.
I think, is everybody kind of cool with that idea?
Just have legal look into it.
I have, well, just at least we're favorable to it. As far as the other thing I want to talk about is raising the cap. So when Wingate came in front of us last year, they invested like $64,000. We had a 10% match, which was 64,000. We had a 10% match, which was like 6,400, not to exceed 50,000. So these big neighborhoods that are going to get done, I mean, I would be in favor of adjusting either the 10% or the cap to a certain extent, because if capping out at 50K already hinders us from doing what we're trying to do by putting more money in there to make a bigger contribution to them. If all we're going to tell everybody is the most you can get is $50,000, and you got to spend $500,000 to even qualify for that, we're not really going to be making any changes to the contributions of significance if we have those stipulations still in play.
It's not 10%, it's 25. It was changed. It's
Yeah.
25%. It's 25% contribution.
Okay, well, I
Neighborhood
thought they
road
only,
food program.
they only took 10%.
It's 25%.
Right?
It's 25%, up to 50,000 per project. Some projects, more than 50,000 may be available at the board's discretion. And so this was changed in 2021? 2021 or 2022, around there somewhere. 2020, 2021, something like that. So there were modifications done to it.
Okay.
But keep in mind, this new idea we're trying, where we're financing this, the township's financing public roads. We've already got 2 that are getting petitions that look like they'll probably go, and so we could, if we got 3 or 4, we're running out of money just like that if we increase it too much. And now we're going to have people coming in saying we want to get some and we don't have any in the bucket for it.
Well, I think that, so my answer to that would be, as long as I've been here, there hasn't been very many. That's why almost all the roads are in disrepair. So SADs are not, people aren't going through the motions, getting 51% of the votes. They're not doing that. That's why nothing's getting fixed. So I would be in favor of having a deadline if you're going to do it, and then we have this year's allocated of money, and you qualify for up to a third, like say 3 communities. Like this is the first time 2 communities have probably come up in a long time that I'm aware of. That if you could get it all together, you could get all your ducks in a row, you could get everybody's signatures, then we could set it up where there's so much annual contribution we want to make, and if you meet this deadline, you get a portion, at the board's discretion to try to spend money. I think the idea is for us to try to give them as much money as we feel comfortable. And then other years there might be 3 or 4 people and there won't be just as much money left that year and they can go on the waiting list for the following year. Or, there's a way we can, I just don't think it's going to be flying off the shelf where we got to worry. I don't want to be hoarding the money because somebody might start the year or 2 year long process to do it. And part of this could be resolved by a little bit more interaction with the township and the SAD and the homeowners association to know who's thinking about it. How long does it take to do the process? We could pretty much guarantee that we would have a pretty good idea of whether we're talking 1 a year, 2 a year, 3 a year coming up. I find it hard to believe we're going to get flooded with them, and if we did, we would have the year before that, we would know that people were actively pursuing it before you got to the point where we were making the contribution, is kind of my opinion on that. I don't want to sit on the money.
So, Paul?
Real quick, relative to how our program is written now, the money is a first come, first serve, and the time that they get to say, we get to tell them you're getting your 25% is, the way it's written here is when the County Board of Commissioners approves the special assessment district. So that's the date. In this case, now we've changed it a bit. We probably need to modify the program here because we're doing public roads internally. So it would have to be the date the board probably has the first public hearing and approves, moving forward with the special assessment district. So that's our deadline where we say, okay, you're in the pool. Whether that pool gets used up or not, I guess we'll find out as we go along. But that's already in place. We need to tweak it a little bit because this board would be setting the date when you guys have now qualified. And keep in mind, we haven't seen a lot of these, but this is the first time we've been doing it this way, where we're being the bank. And let me explain that real quickly. Some folks won't understand what we're talking about. The township is acting as the bank on 2 special assessment districts. They're asking us to be the bank. They're public roads. The road commission will approve us doing this. All we're doing is providing the funds and putting on the tax bills. We're not going out and getting the engineering. We're not putting it out to bid. We're leaving that in the hands of the homeowners and their HOA. When you leave government out of it, you tend to be able to get better pricing on this stuff. And so I think that's what they found at this point with the ones they're working on. So that's a big win for everyone all around. And that's why we've got 2 of them that within probably 3 months of me attending an HOA meeting, they heard what I said and they were jumping on it, and then a neighboring one got on it right away too. I would not be surprised when this sort of starts getting out that we see 2 more this, well, we're getting close to the end of the year now, but I bet we might get 3 or 4 next year. I would not be surprised because this is fairly simple. It's really cost effective compared to the road commission.
They
That's
get the 51
They'll-
votes, yeah.
they'll get it.
Well, I don't know. Now, this other neighborhood, they felt more comfortable using the county because they didn't want to be the general contractor, so.
That's not really why though. We've tried all the avenues and it was just too much. We weren't the bank and we couldn't help them pay for it through loans. They would have to take private loans out to pay for it. And so,
I'll reach out to you. I could probably share some more information with you.
on how to get it. Our roads are pretty bad if you want to go look at them, you know, High Knob Village.
There's 2 cul-de-sacs especially that are down to the earth. There's no road left.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So, don't want to mess around with the cap right now. It's at our discretion, so we have that in the language. We want to change the document to have to have different triggers that work for what would be something that would start the process of funding, right? Good with that? What about using the money to, the bulk of the money to do one of the major road intersection improvements that are outlined in the document, like the White Lake Road, Dixie Highway intersection? And putting it all in one big, not all of it, but the county's not going to do anything for us if we don't contribute. So the big thing is for us, we know we got to have a chunk of change to give the county to show we're serious, and then they'll play, So I know Carrie was big on that intersection.
Yeah, I've spoken with Jose on that. We really need to start that ball rolling, to even get prices so we can talk on that, we need to do a study. And I think that we need to do sooner than later. And then we can look into federal funding, we can look into funding from the road commission, possibly DDA, and possibly some of this. I think we've got several avenues, but that is the most unsafe intersection that we have. The road commission has heard this from us since I've been here multiple times, coming from me when we've had study sessions as well. So the roads are only busier, and I think right now, again, I'm going back on the construction on 75, but we have an increase in traffic over there now because of the closures off of Dixie and 75, and I think we need to move quickly and get the ball rolling to get that study session done, so we can find out what the needs are and what is available for us. But in my opinion, it certainly needs to be on the table.
Regardless, well, that's a good idea, and thanks for putting this together. But regardless, I think we need to do the study for the intersection, because it is true, it's the most.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Dan if we could use the millage money to pay for the study.
Not necessarily. Yeah, we can do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't want, that's what,
It's all part of the road improvement.
okay.
I would suggest, and I think there's a couple intersections on top of that one, Deer Hill and Big Lake. We've been trying to realign those for 30 years probably. And it looks like there might be an opportunity to try and realign those. There has been a fatality there, if not more than one. The other road is Man Road in Clintonville. We've had a fatality there, and I bring that one up in part because it's a dangerous intersection, but also we already have $250,000 from Insignia, who's putting in the apartments over there. So that money's sitting there waiting to do something. So to me, we have to leverage the road commission and MDOT, as well as opportunities with the DDA. MDOT would be on Dixie, so if we can get MDOT to participate and the road commission to participate, they often pick up engineering costs, maybe some other costs, and if we can get tri-party funds for this, that 2.5 million, maybe it goes far enough to get all those things done. I have no idea, but I think, yes, we have to start looking at that, cost of that. And we need to get MDOT and the road commission involved. We need to have meetings with them.
So are you saying you want to have us authorize at a future meeting to authorize funding for a study of multiple intersections
I wouldn't
right
do
now?
that, I wouldn't do that till we talk to the road commission and MDOT. Let's see what they want, let's see where they're at. See how much interest there is, because if they,
Well, I think the White Lake Road is the primary, that, you know, that that's gotta be fixed, so we need a study no matter what. You know, Deer Lake's a lot less traveled.
I
Clintonville's
agree.
busy, but it's a lot less traveled because it
Yeah.
dead ends in both ways, so the intersecting amount of volume there is always limited, because it doesn't, you can't, it's not bleeder roads from other places.
But
You know, neighborhood type,
Right.
Roads.
but if we've got $2.5 million, I'd like to keep it in a bucket and tell the road commission, if you guys will do the study on this, we might be able to come and pitch in with you.
So you
Well, I don't want to spend the
them
money.
do the study?
Let's, you can ask.
Engineer company.
I mean, if we're gonna be putting in money, these are the kind of things that have happened over the last 12 years where pressure, I don't know if we'll call it pressure, but we pushed hard on the road commission to put money in and with MDOT as hard as we could. Because if we're willing to bring money, they're much more receptive to participating, and that should
All
be
right.
where we start.
So we're gonna try, who's gonna get the county to, ask the county to do the study? Who would be the best suited for that? Our engineers or Rich?
Right, just to, you go back to White Lake and Dixie, a few years back, we've had the road commission come out, and they were watching the intersection, they did a couple different things, and they changed the timing of the lights. None of that worked, just to let you know. I mean, we're still getting bad accidents there. And that same year that they came out, actually, Dixie and Navy had more accidents than White Lake and Dixie, but I think White Lake and Dixie has surpassed that by now.
Does it just seem as simple as the extra left turn lane to get the cars farther up from Neiman's? and the
You know,
two left turn
it's
lanes
such,
now?
it's such a big intersection that people misjudge in time when they're turning left. And sometimes I don't think they see the cars coming, and they just turn, and that's when they get hit. So it could be that, but I'm not an expert on it, obviously, but.
Well, a lot of the problem seems to be the backup coming out of the Neiman's and cutting
Yes.
through
Yeah,
traffic.
there
So
is
a double
problem,
left
yeah.
lane would move everything, you know, quite a bit farther to the front.
I think that was
It's an easy
discussed.
fix at least. I mean, I'm not a road guy, but that seems like an easier fix because that fixes the Sashaba mess here from coming down to Walden, this road.
Right.
Is that we
It
got
does.
the double left going out, you know, to
And
stop
they
the
made
backups.
they made the left turn lane a little longer on White Lake, but maybe the two left turn lanes might. I think that was discussed at the time too. but
Because
I don't
that's a
think it was-
quick, easy widening for that, you know, but anyway, okay, so we're gonna ask, you're gonna
Can I
ask
ask a
the
question
county about?
Yeah, I can ask the company, yeah.
Gosh.
I actually have a question.
Hold on 1 second.
All right, good, all right, yeah.
Can you come to the podium, state your name and address, please?
My name is John Newland. I live at 7421 South Village Drive. So I live right near that. I'm curious if your data of that intersection includes the traffic accidents that happened at the Neiman's entrance there, where their cars are coming in or trying to get in on that.
I think they did the surrounding, the whole, the intersection plus. That's
Okay.
what they did. They actually talked about putting a roundabout in there, and we were like, no, it's just too much truck traffic, at least at that time, to have a roundabout. The trucks would just tie it up.
I agree with that. Okay, that was my only question.
US highway, you don't see many.
All right. Okay. All right. Anything else, then?
Anybody got any comments on whether we want to establish some sort of website link to our township to report road damage or massive potholes or car damaging things that so that somebody's watching it, you know, or.
I think it would be reinventing the wheel. The road commission's already got that on their website. So if there's a pothole, you go right to the road commission's website and you go in there and put it in. You can upload pictures and
I
everything.
got that.
I know, but why would we want to do it and then?
Well, because they don't fix their roads. That's why we're paying to fix their roads for them, because they don't fix them. So I just thought maybe it would be better we knew what was going on locally, so that then the supervisor or somebody in authority could go to the county and require action. Nobody in this township that I know is monitoring the county road repair website. So that was the
No,
point of
well,
that,
okay.
because yeah, you tell the county, so what? That doesn't mean
Okay,
anything.
Paul?
Well, I guess I will disagree with you that the road commission doesn't repair any roads.
Well,
Let me finish,
Okay,
please. I understand your point, but my experience is when you go to that site and you report a pothole, put pictures of it, depending on its size and whether or not it's been damaged, they're gonna go out and put asphalt in it, depending on the time of year. And I mean, I see it happen. And if you go up and down any of the residential streets, those tend to take a little longer to get done. But you go down to some of these in the orchards over there, and they've got hundreds of potholes that have been filled. So I just want some clarity here. We shouldn't say that they don't do anything, because they do. We've had other problems that I've had residents call here, and I've gone on to the website and reported it for them, and within a few days they were out and patched it. So it does get done.
okay. I don't think that it's
Hold on
adequate.
a second, one second.
I mean,
Ron
that's
is
why we're all
raising-
talking.
Yeah, hold on. Ron?
I was just waiting for if everything's done or not, but one of the other items, Sam, that we had on there was, we have lobbyists that we're paying. I don't know if we still have those or not. We still paying our lobbyists
We do.
to lobbyists? Like,
And they're coming to make a presentation, I think, at the next meeting, yes.
all right.
Yeah.
I guess to me, we should engage our lobbyists to see if we can get some funding for, because basically like Dixie Highway and 15 are state roads, so they're not controlled by the county.
Okay.
So we need to get some action
Sure.
larger than the county or the township to help get us money and funding for that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah, just to follow up with Sam's question. Sam, what Paul is just stated a few minutes ago is true. And sometimes the county road commission take a little bit longer to address some of those issues when people report some of the potholes. And sometimes people call my office and say, hey, what's going on? They're taking so long. Then I will send an email and follow up with them, and they repair it. And then I get the resident call me back or email and says, thank you, they repair or take care of the pothole. Sometimes it takes a little push from us, but we follow
That's
up.
fine. If you think the county's doing a good job, then that's great. I just thought we could maybe do better.
All right.
Yeah?
We always try to find a better way.
In the spirit of a website or a link to, that's on the township page, that I think the three of us have talked about, we could do a better job as a township, just being more transparent about the process. And I know gentleman from Spring Lake North has offered his, expertise, has learned a lot, and these ladies, I'm sure it's good to see the associations come forward and explain the process they're going through, because the more informed we are, the more we can be helpful for future communities. And so I think we had talked about maybe putting together a useful set of resources that's easy to find for residents, in addition to investing more in our neighborhood public neighborhood roads. So and it could be a quick link to the county, report your issue here.
It's a good idea.
And then it aggregates all the data, because I do think there's a benefit, whatever our opinion is of the road commission, aggregating all that data under their umbrella, I think is useful at the end of it all. So we could include that as part of a larger website to say this is the process, these are the forms, this is how you get started in pushing for neighborhood SAD.
I do want to make sure I understand what we're talking about here. I absolutely do not think I believe we should have a link on our website that says, public road problems, here's a link to the road commission's website where you can report the issues. Beyond that, us starting to create more things for people that the road commission already does, how are we going to manage that and then send it to the road commission? We're just creating more work. And let me share one other thing. I think that I'd like to understand from the road commission, and maybe we can have somebody from the road commission come here and present some information. We had a car that ran off the road on Clintonville and took out the sign that says Clintonville right at Clarkston. They ran into the safety path retaining wall, and they took out this big yellow arrow sign that says, go that way. The guy that lives there called and said, they took this sign out, you better get another one or someone else is gonna run into the wall. And so I jumped on and reported it, and then I actually called the road commission people and the guy we have a contact for. And he said, and he kind of explained it, and he said, that stuff goes to they have a sign division. It's all they do is signs that are knocked down, that's what they do. And so they will evaluate the sign. Stop signs, they go immediately, right? And so a missing sign on a curb, they have their stuff they do to determine where it goes, but it's a lot more comprehensive than I think we know, and I would love to hear that from them so that we're better educated about their process for both repairing potholes, fixing issues, and taking care of signs, and that whole process.
So you're saying the county already has resources on how to navigate the SAD process?
For the public roads, yeah.
They do?
Oh, yeah,
And
Mark,
it's easy
he
to
mentioned,
find?
she mentioned Mark Mesler.
Okay.
I've talked with Mark Mesler numerous times over the years. He is the guy who's in charge of doing, they've got their own pamphlet, a lot more in-depth than ours, that walks them through the whole process, and that pamphlet's available on our website already.
Okay.
Yes.
No, it's clear, and the road commissioner job is fix the roads and all that, but now we try to be proactive and help as much we can on residents, which is really nice. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'm gonna read into a record an email I got, edited of course. I don't know if you guys all got it from a resident that couldn't make it tonight. About this issue, Sheila Hughes couldn't make it. She wrote, I can't get to the meeting tonight, but just want to touch base. I strongly feel that trying to refund the tax back to the people would be a nightmare. We agreed on that. People have moved, blah, blah, blah. So we went through all that. Let's see, so that she was against giving the money back. She wants us to know that Parview was bad enough before they started putting the water main in, and now water main install, and now it's twice as bad. And she would hope to get some support on maybe let's see. I hope you can get some support, and maybe we need to have the residents on Parview meet with your committee. So she's complaining about the flooding streets, and we know the situation in Parkview, but I wanted to make sure that she at least got to say that. So that was the only email I got from residents pertaining to tonight's study group.
Okay, good. Good to know.
All right, then we have some other items, Jim, that we didn't get to.
Okay.
I think everything else had to do with maybe trying to tackle the county millage to try and get some of the transit money. That was the only thing we left over, but I mean, that's gonna be
That's
different.
already a no.
Yeah,
I
it's
asked
no.
for that a long time ago.
Yeah, she did us.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah. President Alamat asked for that, and we asked that, and they lost it.
What can we do, or can Lauren do, or what can we do to encourage people to find the information that Jim's talking about, or Paul's talking about, to get to let the neighborhoods know? How do we that's one of the things. How do we, if we're not going to do an interactive website about it, how do we, whose job is it, and how do you guys think we should feel about getting Carrie's got a friend if she knows where I'm going with this, to get information to the people about the programs that we're running, a little PR.
Okay. Carrie?
Besides Lauren with social media, and she's also started a, Instagram page as well, I believe, for the township, so she would be getting it there. I'm really working, and I think that's gonna be working on something tomorrow where we're gonna do, as I'm trying to promote the early voting, we're gonna do something for Independence Television, and we'll have something on the television station, so I think if we do some slides with some verbiage, somebody doing some filming of that. Handouts at the library, handouts at the senior center. Typically, I know they're not probably not very well updated, but homeowners associations, usually supervisor's office has lists of HOAs and probably some past contact people, but we could reach out to HOAs, supply it that way. As well as, I don't know what we're gonna do going forward with Township Times, if we're going to reinstall that, or what, somebody can always pay to put articles in the Clarkston News.
Paul?
I'll piggyback on that. I was envisioning maybe something from our Independence Television on the first project we do under this new format and repaving these residential streets, where we could kind of take a few different things showing it being milled down and then the new stuff going in. Maybe some discussions with the HOA on how the process worked, and we get that out to folks so they can see it, and of course communicated through our social media accounts, showing a different opportunity at a much lower cost. I'd love to see us get through this first one, so we've sort of worked out the bugs that we think are there. Again, none of this would happen without the assessing department. They're doing a great job. As we go through that process, they're really the ones pulling on the roll the hardest, and so we're figuring out how to make this simple for them as well. And so I think there's an opportunity to do that.
Would there be a limit to how many the township would agree to finance? If we're going to be the bank, I think we need to have a conversation of how many at a time are going, how big of a cap we're willing to put on it, just going into it, so that way if we get bombarded or something, we need to have some parameters to operate.
Paul, what do you think?
If you take into consideration that typically within 5 years, half of it's going to be paid back. You're going to have people who just don't like carrying debt, and they're going to pay it up front because they can. And while the state of Michigan does not require or does not allow us to make it a lien on the property, we can only lien the property for what's due within 1 year. So we can't make them pay it off if they sell the house. That's it. That was a change in the law a few years back.
Okay, that
Used
sounds good.
used to be you could make them if they sold it. It's fine. It can carry forward.
For the next 10.
Yeah, the next owner can take it over as part of their deal.
Okay.
But a lot of the title companies don't do that. A lot of the title companies say, we're going to issue title insurance, that's got to get paid off. I see that happen a bunch, and then I guess you got to get a different title insurance company. So the smaller ones, we have no issues doing 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. That's not an issue, but I think you're on point. As we start doing larger ones, we would have to evaluate, and it's something that I'll run through my investment advisory committee committee too, at our next meeting, to talk about what portion of the monies we invest right now would we be willing to say this is something we could put out. Because if you're looking long term, it's 6%. That's a great return for us. And if we're out there with that money, I think we could have. I think it'd be 3, 4, 5 million would not be out of the question.
Okay. I just think we should.
Yes, we should identify that,
that
and I will bring that to the board after
All
my
right,
next
so
investment
that's all
advisory committee
on
meeting.
those. Okay. So we should get to that.
That makes sense.
Put some
What's
cap
our limit?
on it. That way nobody, if we start running out.
Yeah.
Terry's got a question.
Hi, Terry. Terry.
We brought up assessing, working with them a lot. So what is their cap? You can't just throw these projects on another department and say, we're doing this now, here you go. So what is their cap to deal with it? How much time did it take them? Because the last thing you want is 4 or 5 subs coming, and now, their employees are overwhelmed. So that's
It
my
is.
question.
It is the fact that we are just being the bank makes it a lot easier, because they are essentially creating the petitions, and they do that. So there's some time involved. And again, I'm not going to weigh in on for our assessor. I think she should participate with us on this. And timing's important too, depending on what they've got going on, board of reviews and things like that. That would depend on the neighborhood, right? If you got a huge neighborhood and it's not a normal shape, it's a lot more complicated. So when we paved the roads in my neighborhood, the lots were set up 100 years ago, and they're all these weird shapes, and so the amount of work that goes into something like that is 10 times what it took for her to do Spring Lake. Because Spring Lake, it's a plotted sub done not that long ago, and she knows exactly how many homes there are. They're all got one benefit, and it was, I think, fairly quick compared to the other alternative. So,
Could be a line item that we ask her to, to comment on when they do the budget for this year.
yes, you're right. So we need to address that with them and say, how many can you do? But part of that will depend on how complex they are. If they're simple ones, it's fairly easy.
I guess we could just let her know that we'd like to have that commented on
Yes.
during the budget review for assessing. So.
Time spent.
Or just whether it's gonna be, how much of a burden it's gonna be on that department to
Right.
do that.
What's the limit? 2, 3 a year?
Yeah.
Is that where we're at?
Right, well, that's,
So I
yeah,
will-
that's
it's a good
why I
point.
get to that cap on things, just contribution wise. I think the next thing we have is what could the county do? I think trying to beat them up on the mass transit money is probably a tall task that's gonna require a collaboration of
It's already a no.
or no. Well, they got grants going for things and investment in roads. It is for roads. I was talking to Brett Russigan in Economic Development. He said they haven't even figured out where they're giving all the money to yet. That there's going to be some program of a way of asking for the money. I'm hoping the DDA is going to be able to do that. I mean, I know just asking them for the money to come back for road repairs, but there might be an option that someone's got to look into. I don't know. And I don't know who
Hopefully they change
you.
it, but as of now, I've dealt with a few people over there.
Okay.
It's just,
And depending on what the repair is, if we don't think the county's gonna participate, but the other one that, I forget which one was Ron or Jim's idea, not mine, was, seeing if we can get the county to contribute if it's gonna be one that goes through the county and not funded through the township, whatever that may be, or if there's any way we could get them to provide the engineering for us. That would be a cost, that would be a savings to the homeowners if somebody could go and pursue that option with the county. You know, it's gonna take somebody to go there and try to go after this stuff, but that would be anything we could do to save them money, that would be the one thing we had listed as a county option, that they could actually contribute something. It is their road that we're fixing for them, or the residents are fixing for them. So it'd be a pretty minimal ask for them to say, hey, why don't you throw in the engineering since we're paying to replace the road? Seems like it'd be an easy sell, but that was the other thing. If there's any interest in that, I think that it should be pursued.
Yes, Paul? Yeah, so I suspect one of the things they're going to say is that their budget for engineering already gets hammered when they require petitions of interest upwards of 70%, I think, before they're willing to even discuss this. If they get 70% interest, they'll do the engineering. But then if it gets voted down, they're out the money they spend on the engineering. So right now, the road commission is already spending a lot of money on engineering for projects that never happen.
I get it.
Okay, well, I'm just
I
sharing
still
what
think we should-
they're going to say.
Well, I think we should beat them up anyway and then make them say that, so that way they said it at least, that they're not gonna contribute, but at least try to get them to say it.
Well, when we were working for Parview, they agreed to pay 100% of engineering. Remember, and part of the cost when we were working before.
They always pay the engineering. That's why they require the 70% interest ahead of time. And even then, they're awfully cautious because they know so many communities are seeing the sticker price when they get the quotes from them at $25,000 per house. And they know those don't go through in most neighborhoods. And so they're very reluctant they don't want to spend money that goes nowhere.
I know.
So
I
was just answering his question.
I just know that on a point that my personal experience when I was fighting the county for the Bailey House for 3.5 years with a program that everyone said would absolutely never happen, that eventually they agreed. It took 3.5 years to go into meetings and beating on them, but they finally gave in. So I think there's always a chance that you can, boards change, directors change, sometimes people want to just be generous or do the right thing, so I always say you got to fight for what you want, because it's always a no when you first walk in, but that doesn't mean you can't get
somewhere with them. You were state rep, you know about that, right? I think that's the end of the list. Do you want me to do a quick summary? I've been taking notes. Did we miss anything or not?
I think we're good. Good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good conversation.
Thank you. Okay. All right, moving along, communication future agenda item report. One, report of fiscal 2024, actual budget comments and period ending on July 31st. No, no. Two, report, Oakland County Sheriff Office, July 2024. Means Information Technology Oversight Committee, April 16, 2024. Lastly, Means Information Technology Oversight Committee, July 11, 2024. Board member comments? No?
I do have one comment.
Sure.
I just wanted to bring up, I heard that there was talk of doing a renovation to Township Hall before the end of the year. Is that true?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, we're not doing any remodeling or anything before the end of the year?
Painting and carpeting?
Yeah, but we won't do it because remember, because of the election. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so it's
budget
not
for this
happening.
year.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I know there's a lot going on. I just was double checking.
I have a quick one, I just saw it. Just want to remind the public out there, school is back in session, so be careful around those school buses and please pay attention to school zone speed limits. Thank you.
Okay, I think, need a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good stuff.